welcome back to Serving Sonic Podcast, a podcast for music lovers from all across Toronto and the Canadian area. And today is a very special episode. I've got I'm proud to say two of my close friends here that met them over a couple bonfires. Very talented musicians. I am joined by Chris Rowan and Conrad Schroeder of Nepenthe. Guys, how are we doing today?
We're doing pretty good, yeah.
I'm really glad to hear. Let's.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well, boys. I'm doing well. We gotta give them a clap. Slow clap here. Excellent. A really big show today. Now, I'm talking to these guys because at Serving Sonic we wanted to do something a little out of the box, and so we know that this past week was Valentine's Day, and so I've deemed this the very late Valentine's Metal Special. And, we're gonna get into it. Guys, you released a very great album, of course, called Elegies of Loss and Doom. Can you maybe, of course, let me be a better host and introduce, we have Conrad doing the vocals and lyrics as well as the percussion, and Chris doing bass. How did this project come together for you guys?
Chris, do you want to take that, or?
Yeah, I think I'll take that one, because, so it kind of originally started out as, me trying to write and record music in my basement, and then I asked Scott, I was like, hey, do you want to try and do some music? And then we went looking for a drummer. We found on a Facebook, or I think he approached us from a Facebook ad. It's like, hey, I'm a drummer. And then we met him as best friends since that. It's grown from the project that started out in my basement to a band that we're all proud of. And a year, I think, a year after we changed the name, we dropped the EP, and it's been a wonderful ride.
Well, excellent to hear. And you and via Bandcamp, you've advertised. Of course, it's about black and doom metal. Could you guys maybe educate the listeners here of what genres that kind of entails?
Well, I think it's fairly self-explanatory. It's a mix of black metal and doom metal, as the name would suggest. I guess it's kind of a marriage of, in my opinion, it's a marriage of maybe the fast parts of black metal mixed with the slower and the more emotional aspects of doom. So it's... Yeah, I mean, there's also things like funeral doom metal, which you could argue are fairly close, but I'd say there is a difference between black and doom and funeral doom, but it's it's hard to tell. But I don't know.
It just means that we like to go fast sometimes.
Yeah.
I guess if the listeners know about any of this, but there's, I guess an example of a funeral doom band would be something like Loss.
Yeah.
And then black and doom
Ahab,
would be
Bell Witch.
Yeah, and then black and doom would be something like Ruins of Beverost.
Right.
Yeah. So there is a distinct difference, but.
And how did you? I guess let's go back here a minute. How did you guys get into? Has metal been kind of the love from the start as a kid, or what's kind of the musical background for both of you?
For me, it was I had an interesting upbringing when it comes to music taste, because on the one hand, my dad sings in a barbershop chorus and loves country music, and then my stepmom loves Meatloaf and Great Big Sea, and then my mom brought me up listening to metal. So from the first song I remembering the lyrics to was "Let the Bodies Hit the Floor" when I was
classic
3 or 5 or something like that.
Yeah,
so it's something like that's just always been around for me, and it's just evolved.
Let the bodies hit the floor.
Yeah.
Nice, dude.
Drowning Pool, if anybody doesn't know. Awesome song. Awesome. How about you, Conrad?
For me, I was always into heavy music from a young age, I would say, but it wasn't as much the same with Chris, where he had his parents get him into it, more or less. For me, it was... I'd say, I guess a formative moment for me was, to go back a bit, I've always loved classic rock. So I'd say the first, I'd even consider it heavy. The first heavy rock music that I listened to at a young age would have been like Jimi Hendrix and Led Zeppelin, so those kind of bands. And then a formative experience for me was being in a guitar club, like a rock music club in middle school, and there was someone from a high school who was trying to have their volunteer hours got me into the band Tool. And then since then I branched out from progressive metal to I suppose mainly black metal, but I love all sorts of metal. But yeah, I'd say the first metal CD that I purchased was actually Obzen by Meshuggah. So I've been into, I'd say prog was my first one, but black metal is my true love.
Awesome.
If we're talking about Van Halen-tines Day and whatnot, you know?
No, definitely. Well, it's very interesting. If those, I'm gonna preface the episode. Forgive me, I've had coffee, so I might be bouncing around, getting hyper. But to preface this,
It's
back
okay,
in,
man. I just snorted some crack rocks. It's fine.
Oh hell yeah! Okay, so we're all on the same page.
Just kidding. We do not endorse drugs.
No, yeah, that was a joke.
Yes.
No, it's cool. So to preface, I hope to have him on the podcast. I honestly hope to have people from the Bonfire on this podcast, just because the local metal scene, something that I hold dear, especially in the small town of Guelph, Ontario. But one of our mutual friends, my friend Yoann Tetlow, would always invite me out to these kind of bonfires that we would have within just our local forest area. Where it's a very nice time, an intimate time of just having some beers with the boys, and listening to good music and catching up on projects and all that. And that's how I met Chris and Conrad. And later, of course, I know that you guys were advertising through when District in Guelph was still a club. You guys did a live performance there. But so that's how I know them. We're going to get a bit more into the project now. And I was actually wondering for you guys, what was the concept going into the EP lyrically?
That's a Conrad answer.
Yeah.
He is the mastermind here.
Lyrically, the concept. I guess that's a bit of
There was a couple different ones, right? There was start with Elegies of Loss and Doom, because you had a very kind of specific idea when writing those lyrics.
Well, that song is more that one's pretty stream of consciousness, actually, and it just kind of worked out thematically with the rest. But yeah, I suppose I guess it does kind of fit into the theme of this one. If it's a Valentine's Day one, it's kind of about it's kind of about loss of love.
Yeah.
I guess
think what about
I guess to walk through the lyrics, maybe I'd say Dawn is more or less about maybe awakening to the feeling of ennui. So it's the feeling that I wrote it around the feeling of not necessarily depression, but it's sort of an awakening to a feeling of being lost in the world, and the feeling of being alone and not having anyone.
Yeah.
The loss of friendship. And I wrote a lot of these lyrics in, I suppose, a darker time in my life, so I was pretty lost at that time, so I think the lyrics reflect that.
Yeah. Very, it's a very powerful stuff. And upon maybe the recording of it, I know that it's completely different, and this is someone who's kind of learning more about recording. But for Conrad, especially for you, is it hard to, I guess do you guys do this in practice? Because I'm hearing the amazing drum work by you. Is it hard to sing and play while at practice? Because for some of the songs you guys are doing, it's like, to me it seems like kind of hard to coordinate that, or is that or did you kind of record that separately?
Okay, well, for the album, I recorded the vocals separately from the drumming. That would just be if
well, that'd be probably too hard, right?
Yeah, if anyone listening knows about recording and audio engineering, there's a lot of problems. Well, aside from just a better performance on the drums and the vocals independently, there's also the problems of mics bleeding into one another. So that would lead to problems in mixing, and so it made a lot more sense for me to record things separately. I guess Chris knows a lot more than this about me, but it's called multi-tracking.
Right.
Yeah. That's like we have done like a live off the floor video recording of everyone mic'd up performing live. We did that with Alex Snape with Nomadic Arts.
Yes,
we did a tag team on that, and you can check that on our YouTube. We did a couple songs from the album, or from the EP, sorry. But I think most of the time, like when Conrad, like at least when we're practicing, we're more focused on trying to write the music than refine the vocals for at least the last long while. That's what we've been trying to write this album.
For the most part, the vocals just kind of fall into place.
Right.
I usually, at least with sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
At least with lyrical concepts, what usually happens is I end up just writing a poem before I even hear the song. So if Scott writes the song, I'll write a poem independently of that, and then usually it just ends up working with it. I'll end up fitting things in, and I'll sort of select the poem that reflects best to the feeling of the music that Scott brings. So that's usually how it works. And there are a couple songs where I have written the lyrics sort of in rehearsal, I suppose, but for the most part, it's all independent of each other, and then the performance usually just falls into place.
Now, of course, everyone's different with and maybe you kind of alluded to it there, Conrad. But the writing process itself, is that a case where maybe Scott brings in a riff and then you guys kind of design the song around there organically, or maybe Chris brings in a riff and is that how it kind of works, or maybe like how is maybe the structure to you guys? But also, I'm aware that I don't want to spoil your secrets either of the recording process, or maybe coming up with songs.
Kind of what we've done is that we'll just start jamming, because I think at our core we are kind of a jam band.
Yeah.
But out of those jams, Scott will usually kind of go home with some of those ideas that he liked best from those jams, and he'll when he gets enough, he'll eventually start stringing them together and start bringing these song ideas to us, and then we'll jam those song ideas out and expand upon them. And just it's a slow process, but I think it's worth it in the long run for us.
I'd say at least for the album that we're working on, Scott's more of the powerhouse for bringing riffs
he's
in.
Definitely,
but that's
he's definitely the riff writer.
That's something where I think it just happens naturally with bands. Because when you're playing together, the guitarist has control over more or less. The guitarist has the most control of the song
space.
So it just kind of happened that way. Like the EP, it was half of the EP were songs that I wrote, so Breathe Deeply, and then Elegies of Loss and Doom. Scott mostly wrote it, but that's probably our biggest collaborative song for the most part. Like we all threw something riff-wise into it. And then Drowning in Acrid Light was all Scott musically. So, but for this album, I think I wrote 2 songs.
You've gone two songs?
I wrote 2 songs on the album, and then Scott's written the rest. So it's
like has 4 or something. So
yeah, I mean they're all like fairly long songs, but
yeah, this is Doom.
Yeah, for the most part, Scott's the riff man. He's the riff lord.
The riff lord, the riff maestro, as you say.
Yeah.
Now, I would imagine that jamming, would that say that's kind of helped you guys as players kind of sonically like connect with one another, kind of like Like, I feel like, I mean, something that,
yes, I would say so.
yeah.
I feel like I wish Scott could confirm this for me too, but I feel like if we're jamming and I look at Scott and I look in his eyes, I can just tell what he's gonna do next. I just connect with him on an instinctual level. Like, I think we've gotten to that point together where we've achieved a lot of harmony, and with Chris too. I feel like I can just look at him and then we can.
It's just like we just
dictate
the way
of the music.
It's like it's just we're just playing through something, just repeating a riff. Then we know when we're going to change it to something else. It's whether for me to follow along with Scott, because I don't always know 100% what he's going to do next.
Yeah.
It's a little harder for me because sometimes he doesn't even know what he's going to do, and that's kind of where that's
where the
kind of
jam
more
band
the fun
aspect comes in.
That's where the jam comes from, because like you don't know what's going to come next, but you have to improvise and kind of adapt to it, and sometimes it bursts out this magical music.
And I would imagine so that maybe Chris, you can speak onto this, because I know that you've done a lot of recording projects that, or maybe both of you, honestly, that because I know that sonically finding guys like that in a band, that's not easy to come by chemistry wise, or perhaps maybe
it was
building
100% a fluke.
Yeah, I'd say
it was like it was a fluke that even happened. To be honest,
it's just pure luck that we all like harmonized together so well, I think.
Like, I started hanging out with Scott towards the end of us both going to high school, and I started inviting him over to my house. We wanted to try and write some kind of like doom stuff together, and then
shout out to Abandoned Life.
Shout out.
Yeah, Abandoned Life, Abandoned Projects. Hey. Don't even remember it.
Well, hey, hell yeah, no. Please do.
I'm upset that you even remembered that.
Yeah, I just remember the name. I haven't even. I don't think I've even thought of that for like the past 3 years, dude.
Do you guys have any recordings of that material, or was that kind of like?
Yeah, there's like one thing. There's like one thing where Scott's on like one or two sings or something like that, and it's fucking awful. Oh. Like it's just garbage.
Okay, I was gonna say, if it sees the light of day, I mean, I'd love to see the
Genesis.
It's
on Bandcamp.
Oh, it is. Okay,
it's on Bandcamp.
Awesome.
It is on Bandcamp.
Check it out.
We're
For
gonna
the
pitch
memes.
that. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
no, it's not good. Please don't listen to it.
For the memes.
For the memes only. Yeah.
But no, it was a complete fluke. That's like Scott and I just started becoming friends, and realized that like, hey, we want to do this. We have the same kind of idea of what we want to do for music, and then finding Conrad, just by like sheer luck.
Yeah.
It's like 100% sheer luck. Like, we just randomly posted an ad on like a local Facebook metal group, and Conrad responded, and we invited him over. And we've been fucking best friends ever since.
For me, it was I was getting frustrated because I didn't know anyone personally who wanted to play the same music as me. I was a bit of a black sheep because I was the only one of my friends who liked black metal pretty much, and it was,
of course, yeah.
And I didn't know many people who played music, so I just saw that ad and I responded. And I mean, I guess it's not too crazy now that I think of it. I think when people are bonded together by something like black metal, it's if you have a similar interest like that, I don't know, I just think you're bound to find some common ground with other things. It's been a strong force in my life in general.
It was like the stars that really aligned when the three of us came together and actually started to make music together.
And
take it serious.
Was that nerve-wracking, I guess, for you, Conrad, or even Chris, kind of reaching out and were you guys kind of skeptical of like, who do you think we're going to get? But also for Conrad, maybe for you, was that nerve-wracking, kind of like meeting people that you didn't know at the time? Or was it kind of like, hell yeah, like I'm ready to meet people that I can bond with in the metal community-wise?
I mean, I felt that both ways. I guess it's weird just to do a cold call to someone, you know?
Yeah.
But But I knew at the end of the day, I knew these guys like black metal, and I love black metal, so it just worked out. I'm just gushing too much about black metal.
You are. Yeah. I mean, for us, it was like we were hopelessly reaching out and hoping that we'd find someone, but not really knowing if we would or not, because finding a drummer is like the hardest thing to do in a band.
Yeah, there's probably like
It's that there's dozens of guitars.
There's a million
drums,
guitar players.
There's
Yeah.
bassists and vocalists like crazy, but find a person who actually can play black metal drumming.
Yeah.
That's
There's
hard.
probably, like,
It's
10
you can find
people.
any guy to go play like a Nirvana rock beat and stuff like that, but it's
like,
to do like
especially
black metal, drumming,
beats. God. Yeah.
it's pretty hard. It's really quite impressive, to be honest. Just while even watching the drumming is like, I can't even wrap my head around it.
Well,
it's just a polka beat.
Go ahead. Yeah. Please, Conrad, go.
It's just a polka beat, like an oompa beat, like
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
zip,
Boom, bop, boom,
zip,
bop,
boom, zip, but sped up. That's it.
Like double timing that, essentially. Am I right?
Yeah, basically.
If not more.
But yeah, yeah. That's a quote. Quote me on
Yep.
this. Black metal is just fast polka.
Boom.
In a lot of ways.
Right there.
Yep.
We
You
got
heard
it.
it.
Black
Spin-
metal.
spin out hard
fast polka.
facts.
Well, hey, let's. I'm gonna play the song, of course, where we can showcase that awesome drumming. We'll have "Breathe Deeply," this Lethean Mist by Nepenthe, right here. Real Grinder Boys. Excellent stuff. Woo! Shee! Yeah, get after it. I really actually liked what you said about metal, just because, not to toot my own horn here, but I guess in high school I was relatively late to the scene because I guess I was still kind of finding myself and all that bullshit. And it was really funny because, did you guys meet Eric Bataki by any chance?
I've never heard of that name.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm not from Guelph.
No, I know, yeah. Well, he was I think in grade 11 or 12 at the time, but he would hang out with Alex Snape, Yoann, and Joaquin. All these people hope to get on the podcast, but these are just friends of ours. And he was basically giving me a list of bands to check out with getting into metal. And so he would say, like, oh, do you know who Children of Bodom is? Do you know who Nile is? Cannibal Corpse and all this stuff. And at the start, I mean, it was way too hard for me, but maybe if you guys can relate that, I guess it's like with metal, there's like the introductory bands, and then you kind of want to go heavier and heavier as time goes on, at least for myself. And that's when I started to get into. But I still feel like at these bonfires, it's among the crew of you guys that have gotten me into bands such as like Diocletian, Typo Negative, who we're going to talk about on this show. I don't know, do you guys kind of agree? But I know that, Conrad, you were saying that was black metal from the start, or was that kind of getting into it more?
I didn't even really know about black metal until I was like 15 or 16, but it was mostly prog, and then I actually found the shout out to the atmospheric black metal.
Yes.
Atmospheric black metal
that
YouTube
did wonders.
channel.
Saw it, dude.
Yeah, we also so I think that was a previous iteration of that channel actually, but I discovered that when I was in high school, and I basically went from being a prog guy to just like I said, like falling in love with black metal. I think the first album that I remember really getting into, it was I guess they're a bit lesser known, but it's this band called Gris, like Gris, so gray in French, but they're a Quebecois black metal band. So they're like I guess like a depressive black metal band, but they had the I'm gonna butcher this so hard. I think it's
that's okay.
À l'âme enflammée, l'âme constellée by Gris. I don't speak French, so don't grill me on that one, please. But yeah, if you want to try typing in what I said, that's an amazing album. But that's probably the one that got me into black metal as a genre, at least.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, for me, it took me ages to actually start liking harsh vocals. Like, that was a hurdle I had to overcome, and eventually it just kind of like it clicked. The first album for me I got into that was black metal was a band called Dark Fortress.
Okay.
And their album Elam. And that was like the very first one where I was like, this is sick. This is really something else. And then from that I got into some of the second wave black metal bands, and then it just got into like the atmospheric black metal bands and like the black gaze stuff. But I've always been a folk guy too, so I tend to lean on that side of black metal a little more too. But I do love me some good melodic black metal.
Yeah, I mean I mainly listen to black metal, but I still love a whole lot of other stuff too. Like Chris, yeah. I have a more.
It's like good lord, I've been listening to a lot of Stan Rogers. Like,
hell yeah.
It's like every single time like I hang out with friends, like I'll just walk over to the computer or like queue up a song. It's like, we're gonna listen to Stan Rogers now.
Well, let's nerd out for a minute, because isn't it like Northwest Passage, that recording of him just doing it is like just his voice in a room, and how perfect it is. That sends chills. I get chills.
It's some of my favorite recordings of him is just him and his band live off the floor in some bar.
Yeah.
Like, and those recordings is just like, he was such a pure musician, just such an insane amount of talent.
Agreed. Those are his best recordings are live.
It's just recordings are live, or like it's incredible. It's like you after listening to like the live recordings, you can't listen to the studio recordings for some of the songs. It doesn't hold up the same.
Getting back to no, go ahead, Chris. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
No. I was just gonna say there's a sense of magic to when a performer is able to conceive that type of emotion live off the floor, and to me, that's something that I try and look for in artists.
Yeah, definitely. And would you say that, I guess maybe both being musicians yourselves, that the element of maybe folk music and like the more wooden instruments caters to maybe the artistic style? Like, what brought you to kind of the folk style for you?
For me, it's always been in my life.
Yeah.
Growing up listening to Great Big Sea and country music is that there's a hefty amount of folk influence with that for me, and it's pick me up music for me. It's really something like that. It's really that easy. Like as soon as you put on like a good like folk melody or something like that, I'm instantly just kind of in a better mood. And it when music's able to convey that type of emotion, it's just like, oh, you're gonna be in a good mood now. You're gonna go listen to some good Stan Rogers. It's like you're gonna have a good time.
Yeah.
Like later today, I'm gonna go out for a walk in the woods, and I'm gonna listen to Stan Rogers.
Well, you sure you sure listen to different folk music than I listen to.
Yeah. Probably.
I don't listen to folk music when I'm trying to have a good time.
No.
Go into the woods.
Stan Rogers is great though. I can't deny
blast
that.
The black
it's
metal.
Awesome.
Yeah,
enough,
it's just so good. It's so good.
Getting back to, I guess, the project, I really love the layering of harmonies that's on the art that you guys do. How is that done? Is that Conrad? Are you layering the vocals on like?
It's all Conrad.
It's all Conrad.
It's all Conrad.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's freaking good, man.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I think that's from I was a choir kid in high school, so
okay.
I think doing the choir in high school helped me to like figure out the layering.
Yeah.
I suppose.
And coming up, I guess, with those harmonies kind of thing.
Yeah, because I was hearing that.
I mean, it's also where our influences come from too,
Yeah.
right? It's like to tie in like the theme of the episode is like like three bands that are like heavily influential for us, at least in the beginning, were Typo Negative, Eggwalk, and Woods of Ypres.
Good. I was just thinking,
like, a lot.
Choose your words carefully, Chris.
There's
if you don't
like,
say them, I'm gonna.
It's like
you chose
I
right.
will have my
He
ass
is gonna
read.
smack you. He's gonna smack you.
I know.
I will drive to
But no,
Guelph.
a lot of heavy influence for us is from Woods of Ypres, and the emotion that they were able to convey in the music is like Woods 5 is one of the few albums I've ever teared up to.
Yeah.
It's just that powerful emotion. And when music's able to convey that type of emotion to it, it's like there's something special there. And I think in some ways we can only hope to one day have that type of emotion as well.
I'd say that's
Whether that's a subconscious thing or a goal thing, for us I think it's still a thing that we want to kind of pursue.
Oh, agreed. Yeah. I'd say like Woods 5 is probably our gold standard that we want to work towards too.
Kind of like that benchmark, like we want to sound not like sound like that, but this is the main inspiration that we're putting at the top of the page.
Yeah, for sure.
It a lot of ways, yeah.
Now it sounds very cheesy, but I actually think it's quite a magical thing, as it were, to kind of get in the mood of maybe writing this kind of music, / maybe experiencing it. But do you think, how much does nature and maybe of Chris, you said going for walks in the woods, how much does that cater in the creative process?
You can't I think this is something that like the band's joked about in the past, of where like you can't be in a happy mood and write sad music.
Yeah.
I'd say for me,
it's
sorry Chris.
Like I think for us, it's like there has to be a general sense of like either melancholy or something like that, and for me at least, I get those moods pretty easily if I go to the woods or coming home late from hanging out with friends and like you're just so tired, but then you sit down with your guitar and you start writing songs or something like that. I can't speak for Scott about how he comes up with stuff either. I can only speak for myself with this. But
I mean, going back to what you were saying about nature, I'd say lyrically at least I don't write about nature itself, but I'd say something that inspires me with lyrics is just the rage that I feel against modernity in that sense. So it's still vaguely in praise of nature, but at the same time it's more just a sense of loss that I'd say I think I can speak for Chris and Scott on this too, but just a sense of loss that the three of us feel in the modern world.
Yeah.
And I guess how nature's kind of left by the wayside. I don't want to speak for you, but
I agree with that. I think that's also kind of like where my moods of melancholy come from when I'm in the woods. Is that it's not you're sad about it. It's not that you're overly happy about it. It's that there's a sense of peace when you get there, and that's kind of the more important part about it.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. I know that living in the city, I'll be honest, I miss it. There's not a lot of in the time that I've been in the vicinity of Toronto. I think I said, like, is there a green space? I said to one of my buddies, I was like, I need like a green space just to kind of have that sense of peace. So I'll definitely be I'll tell you, boys, I'll definitely be coming back and spending time. I will definitely be spending time in the woods. I can
sure.
Just go for walks. Yeah.
Boys with beers in the woods, honestly. It is. I am at happiest.
It heals a lot of wounds.
Well, that's why I hope within being a radio student, I'm going to go to the small markets, and I might just be content with that. Being like, hey, if it's like a one-horse town, doesn't matter. I'll still be much more happier, but that's what I can say to myself promptly right now.
Oh, for sure. I completely understand where you're coming from. Like I lived in.
Oh, definitely.
I lived in Toronto for a year, and I felt.
Dude.
Yeah, it was just
like hell. I was in Hamilton for like 3 years.
Jesus.
Off and on. It's like it's awful.
Like no disrespect to people that can do it, but when it's the winter time, like when it's like the winter time, it gets dark at like 4 p.m. I am not like, it's just like, because I go for walks here, of course, just mentally to just get out of the digital space, because all the classes are online and all the bullshit. But yeah, not in like, just, it's all concrete here, so I'm like, man, like there's nothing, so it's definitely dampens the mood. I guess a specific type of person. Sorry, Conrad, go ahead, please.
Oh, I was just gonna say it was less so the city, and more so, despite having so many people around, it's a city. There's so many people around, but at the same time, living there, I'm sure you can agree with this in some sense. But even though there's so many people around, you feel so isolated.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. Yeah,
I'm sure Chris can agree with that too. It's just
living in Hamilton. Hamilton. You know,
it's not a good time.
Yeah,
that's all I can really say. It's just it's not something I'd ever want to go back to.
Fair enough.
It's something I think I can't go back to.
Not knocking anyone who chooses to live in a city. It's just not.
No,
for
please,
me.
yeah.
No, it's like if that's
you,
what you do.
Yeah. Exactly. If it's for you, hey, it works. You know.
It's like part of my problem is like I spent a lot of my early childhood on a farm.
Yeah.
Just on the family farm, so it's like going from that to Hamilton. That. And it's like going from like paradise to dystopia type of thing.
Yeah.
For me, so it's like it's a lot about how you're raised too with it.
You know what's funny is that Guelph is like that middle point where it's like there's like
that super nice middle point.
Yeah, it's like half like our downtown, so to speak, that little city portion, and then of course there's just parts in Guelph where like you can find like a park, and luckily those forest trails. Like if we didn't have those, I'll tell you, like it's just so nice having that. Just like in your backyard. I can attest to that, but probably you guys as well. When the times of the fires and that, having them. Well, I guess we'll get next to one of my favorites. We're gonna have Dawn by Nepenthe here on Surf and Sonic.
was enshrouded with warmth. Yet all I felt was cold. Yet all I felt was cold. I will slip into your wounds, so that I feel your pain. I have seen through your eyes, elated within your darkest moments. Within your darkest moment. Within your darkest moment. My eyes were wide under the light of the moon. Your arms were worn and hollowed. It filled my heart with pain. In the deepest of sorrow, it filled my heart with pain. In the deepest of sorrow, my eyes were born of pain. To the light of the morning, everything was so weary and cold. I was reminded of the halcyon days. Firelight then was cold. But all I felt was cold. My eyes were both open.
One more time. Well, okay. We gotta get. Of course, we've nerded out about talking about metal, but we're gonna probably into I'm stoked to talk about this. We're gonna be talking about October Rust by Type O Negative. And boys, please feel free to just completely stop me if I get my facts wrong here. But Type O Negative, what can be said? From Brooklyn, New York, their music spoke to people. Themes of love, revenge on your ex, werewolves, and more. Band was larger than life, mainly because of the lovely frontman and bass player who was 6'8", larger than life, seriously, the iconic Peter Steele. And I read that, or I've seen a video where he would play, he's the vocalist and the bass player. There's a live footage of him, I think at a festival, where he would play his bass with, not a guitar strap, but it's an actual chain.
Yep.
Do I got that?
Yep.
That's insane.
Yeah, he
does-
didn't even
he
have
does that.
padding.
Yep.
It
Yeah.
was just a chain on his
Oh,
shoulder.
No,
dude.
he was.
That was a
And
heavy
the- and
bass.
there's-
He was. He was nuts.
Dude, yeah, and like I think because I was skulking around for some resources, and then I heard that like towards the end of the set, he would just rip the strings off his bass like by hand. He could just do that.
Yeah.
Mad
yeah.
lad.
He did
Mad
that kind
lad.
of times. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of respect for that man.
No, totally. He also had a major romantic effect on women. Very artistic, complex guy. Mainly the influences of this band are the Beatles and Black Sabbath. Of course, you can hear that on certain songs like the infamous album that probably got them more to the top, arguably, being Bloody Kisses. Where I can definitely hear on songs. Please check them out, by the way. Just check out all of Typo Negative, seriously.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But there's certain songs, like I think on Black Number 1, through the midpoint of the song, it just goes to this dirty drop B riff that to me, I'm like, well, that's straight up Sabbath. And towards their later stuff, you can definitely hear more Beatles-inspired, maybe playing more melodic choruses. Would you guys agree with that?
I would definitely have to say some along the lines of that, but it's always kind of funny to look at like their early stuff because they started out as a hardcore band, and that's actually how I got into Typo Negative. Is I went through a bad breakup.
No,
I
fair
started
enough.
listening to early Typo Negative and just started working out, and it was like,
Hell yeah.
this is. And it was like that's how I got into Typo Negative. Is like Scott was like, listen to this album, you're gonna love it.
Oh,
and I was
hell
like,
yeah.
I listened to it at the gym and I was like, I love this.
Well, what was the first one? What was the first album you listened to? Or song-wise, do you remember?
Fuck. Zero Tolerance.
Okay, gotcha.
Off their first album.
Wolf Moon.
I'm blanking on the
Wolf Moon.
blanking on the name. Yeah, it took him a little while to get.
I
into Typo.
actually haven't. I didn't really get into Typo until fairly recently, but I'd say October Rust is still, despite only getting into it recently, it's
beautiful.
a pretty important album for me.
Yeah.
It has
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
The bigger Typo Negative fan of the band is actually Scott.
yes.
Is Scott? Yeah. He would have to
He's
get-
the
Scott, yeah.
biggest fan for Typo Negative among us.
Want me to call him up?
Yeah, we'll call him up. You can call him up.
Well, we'll have to
Maybe
have to
not.
have you guys back for your next hopefully when your next project comes out.
Oh, of course. Yeah, we'd love
Yeah.
to be back. But
Well, here I'm gonna keep. Sorry, go ahead, Conrad. What were you gonna say?
it's nothing. I was just
Okay. Well, I'll keep on for cueing the listeners in here. They were known as the Drab Four. You know, their music could be dark and gloomy, but they were not afraid to have humor in some of their interviews, but morely so when they have their joke tracks. I won't go into too much specifics, but example, we have, like with October Rust, Bad Ground, which I remember when I was I remember getting the album. I'm like, well, what the hell's going on here? I'm like, I'm hearing nothing. And then they introduce, their album and getting into it as cool as can be, of course. Hits you with Love You to Death, and I got chills up my spine. What's
I
funny
love that
about
song
that?
too, man.
Oh, dude, we're gonna showcase it on here. But what's funny about that is when I was up at for Seneca, we have like different campuses, and so I was at the King City campus, and honestly, on my Instagram, all those because thank God, honestly, that campus it's basically like an hour outside Toronto, like a commuter town essentially, and the cool thing about that was they had all these nature trails, so there were like lakes and stuff, and honestly, I would just go for walks for like 2 or 3 hours and just listen to. That's how I got acquainted with October Rust, Bloody Kisses, and Life Is Killing Me. Albums, of course, that these guys have definitely shown me here. And I was floored. Also Wolf Moon. Wolf Moon being the showcase track we're also going to throw on here, but I think it was with you guys that, again, having one of the fires on a nice fall day, and I was like, what the hell is this? And
we're just we're blitzed in the woods howling like wolves when the chorus comes.
Dude, it's so sick. It's so sick.
Yeah. I'd say I didn't really get Typo until, because Peter Steele, he has like a lot of like blue collar background.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Like, I didn't really get it until I at my old job I was working as a concrete cutter, and the moment I got Typo was just getting up in the morning, hating my job, driving to a job site in the company truck, listening to October Rust.
Yeah.
So that's just listening to that throughout those days. Like that's what got me into it. And I'm like, you know what? I think I get this. I get this now. Yeah. It's just the resentment against my job at the time, and yeah, just the feeling of anger that I maybe felt like I wasn't doing the right thing in my life, and Typo really helped to solidify that, specifically October Rust. But anyway,
no, that's awesome. You know what's funny is that and they struck me as, I mean, with just stuff that I've seen of Peter, they seem like a really kind of roots hardworking band.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And I found it really funny that, and of course, speaking to most of their albums were over 75 minutes included with 15 songs. And why is that? Well, they felt that if you're paying the same price for a CD with 10, they wanted to add more in case there was something that you didn't like. Not to mention the joke.
That's amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So
that's new information.
That's just really cool. I thought, I'm like, man, like they're kind of just being honest with it, aren't they?
Bang for your buck. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Bang for your buck.
Let's just have 5 more songs that, hey, if you don't like our stuff, we'll throw some more on there for you.
Yeah, that's something that I've noticed about them. They have, on all their albums, they seem to have so many tracks. There's a lot of flavor to it. I didn't know that until now, but yeah, it's the kind of thing where, like, they almost have, they go between different styles too, so there really is something for everyone.
Yeah, and I found it, and again, like, being open to this band, I didn't realize, I guess, the blending of genres that they do, because I know that you have a bit of punk in there. You got some thrash, of course, because Peter Steele was in Carnivore. That was his first band, leaving the one, of course, that I forget what the name is called, but like the first iteration before Carnivore. Because half of the band, half of the OG group that they had originally, half of them went to do like a hardcore project, and then like Peter Steele and another one of them were they created.
I think it's Kenny.
I think
Something
so.
like
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Created Carnivore, and that's where the thrashier side on stuff like on Bloody Kisses.
Peter Steele always wanted Typo to be a hardcore band.
Oh, really?
So Kenny
okay.
just went.
Was that perhaps Fallout?
Yes, you're right.
I just looked on Metalum. I cheated.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm glad you guys are here. Honestly, helping me out with it. But yeah, okay. So we're going to get, of course. I was talking to the guys earlier, and we argued. There's so many songs within, I guess, October Rust that we could showcase. Be My Druidess, I love that song. Green Man, Chris was pitching for.
I love that song. God.
Oh, dude, so good. But perhaps we have to do the one that kind of, it was the light bulb moment. Because I think, I'm not even lying to you guys, within that fire, I think it was a full moon that night. We're going to be doing, of course, Wolf Moon right here on Serpent Sonic. Check this one out.
will alleviate the pain. On holy water, sanguine addiction, the silver bullets, our last blood benediction. Disgrace, we'll be meeting again. And on that great day, I will tease you all the same. On holy water, sanguine addiction.
Hoa.
Holy shit, boys! What do we think of that?
Big balls on that song.
Unholy
Big balls.
Malta, sanguine
Sanguine with addiction.
pain on that
It's so
day.
good.
Oh, dude, so good.
It's one of the it's just like that song is a staple in furthering my love for Type O Negative.
Yeah.
It's just that's what that song does every single time, and it's like
Just singing about werewolves,
good.
man. I just love that. I love it.
Such a simple
You should
yet
really
effective premise.
Yep. Oh
Yeah.
Yep.
Look into the lyrics. Do yourself a favor.
Maybe we should, look into those lyrics. Maybe we should cover that with Alex. I was actually thinking about that. I went for a walk today, and I thought maybe we should cover this with Alex. I don't know. Is it drop
that wolf in that song's real hungry. Let me tell you what. He's hungry for. I don't know.
For that wolf.
But you should look into the lyrics. Check it out.
Someone's hungry for the wolf.
Someone's hungry for the wolf. What else can I more say
my lips.
about Type O here? Here, let's I'll get into just a little background about it here. Of course, you have vocals and the bass by Peter Steele, the backup vocals and guitar by Kenny Hickey, keyboards and the sound effects, of course, is by Josh. I don't have it in my notes here. Well, I'll have to fix that. Quickly, does someone know the keyboards?
Yeah, it's Josh. I don't forget his last name, but he's to metal him he goes.
Josh
yep.
to metal him.
Yeah. His neck, his beard around his neck's getting longer and longer the deeper and deeper he goes onto that
You're right,
website.
man.
Yeah.
Josh
It's
Silver.
a good resource. Thank you, Josh Silver.
Yeah.
And then, of course, John Kelly doing the drums and percussion, but I learned that it was actually programmed drums that they used.
Yes,
can you go into that, Chris, a bit?
It's one of the really cool things about like Type O Negative, and like it was a little hindrance for me at the beginning because like getting into their production style was kind of like a little blockade for me. Because it's not the most hi-fi music in the world, but it has such a charm to it once you
definitely
get your head wrapped around it. But they liked the aesthetic of these custom programmed drums, so a lot of the time they use their own drum samples with these sequencers.
Okay.
And that's how they would do the drums, and their drummer would actually just program that, and then he play that live.
He must have been thrilled about that.
Or sometimes it was in like a blend sound too, where it was like, because they would do things live off the floor to tape and use the drum sequencer and stuff like that. It's like they did a lot of experimenting. It's like there's even with like their guitar recording, is that they actually took like a direct signal from the guitar amplifier, not even going to a guitar cabinet. And then they would blend that in with a mic guitar cabinet, and that was the sound of the guitars. That's one of the key features about it. It's a super cool thing that they did. No one's else really kind of done it in that
I'm
style.
really glad you're here, Chris, because I don't know any of the deep lore.
Yeah.
No,
this is really cool.
That's why I have you guys. Yeah, learning more about this, and
Yeah.
because it sounds so. And again, me not knowing, of course, I wouldn't know that they're programmed drums because they came across like really big sounding too. Combined with, I guess, the reverb, the reverb that I guess Type O, I wouldn't say known for. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but definitely, I guess in the later albums they included.
It's definitely a cavernous.
Oh yeah,
sound to the band.
They have a very iconic sound, I'd say. Like I don't think there's anyone else that sounds like.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's why. And that again, that's another one of those bands that you know when it's them when they come on. Iconically, some couple things on the album was that it expanded upon their major hit of the album, Bloody Kisses, with providing a lot more atmosphere in the darker songs, kind of pulling away from a bit of the doom metal stuff, but still in that vein of like very slow, very heavy. More ballads are featured on this album with a little bit of classic rock.
That's kind of one thing you gotta kind of remember with Type O Negative is that they call them like a gothic doom band, but at the core they're really just a pop band.
Interesting.
They're really just a pop band that plays with these like in the style of like gothic doom.
Mm-hmm.
But at their core, they are just a pop band. And you look at like, and that even goes beyond just Typo Negatives. Like a lot of those super popular metal bands throughout history, at the core, they're just writing pop songs. And that's part of the reason why they're so memorable, right?
Yeah.
It's just like that pop formula is just, it's tried and true. But they were able to do it, that conceived this type of emotion and movement throughout their music, mixing in with all these other elements of like the Beatles and Black Sabbath, as well as these weird production techniques to the song, to like add quality and sonic difference to the song that just made it such a magical thing. Is like, for me, that's another reason why I'm just drawn to that band.
Yeah. More well, and I guess more melodic, and I guess kind of like hypnotizing. I guess like and also I can't help but imagine again, I guess I've already said it, but the atmosphere that like the record like stands on its own is like really painting that sound. And I feel like they were known, another ability what I really enjoyed them of kind of like their soundscape tracks that they do. I thought that was really sick, like really capturing like the overall feel of an album instead of like going song to song to song. Yeah. So how about, I guess we finish it off by, now on this podcast, we give a rating, of course, to our albums, on any metric you want. So, an example of that could be like, Stan Rogers recordings, I would give that 10 out of 10 Walks in the Woods. I think it's safe. Well, I'll guess I'll go first, and I'd love to hear from you guys. Maybe even rank, the Typo Negative albums for you guys. But I would say I'll give it a. You know what? Yeah, it's a 10. It's a 10.
It's honestly a 10.
It's a 10. It's a 10. Yeah, it's a 10.
It's like
I was gonna be like, is it 9.5?
Nothing wrong
yeah.
about. There's nothing wrong about October Rust.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like, for me, that's a 10 out of 10.
I'm gonna be a negative Nancy
like,
here.
Okay, go for it.
I love
8.
it. I was gonna say an 8,
7,
but
an 8.
I feel
why?
like
I'd love to hear why.
I feel like it could grow on me more. Like I said before, I haven't really gotten into it until recently. So that's my initial impression, but I have a feeling there's room for growth.
Right. Yeah. Well, here. I guess I'll finish it by saying 10 out of 10. Crisp fall days out of 10. But I'd actually be Chris, would you agree? You're nodding your head. Would you agree? Yeah, we got to agree with Chris. But Conrad,
10 out of 10.
What's the second album? Let's say fans come up to you guys and they say, guys, if I want to get into Typo Negative, like after October Rust, or maybe what is your specific favorite that fans should check out?
Yeah, I'd say
Slow, Deep, and Hard.
Oh, I was gonna say World Coming Down.
World Coming Down.
I love that album. That's a
Yeah.
dark album.
Yeah.
That's
I like the hardcore stuff.
Yeah. Slow, Deep, and Hard is still great though.
Yeah.
Isn't
more just for my taste.
Also fair enough. I was gonna say, isn't there also a fun fact that is it on Origin of Feces that Roadrunner wanted to do a live album? So the band was like, okay, we'll do that. But what they did instead in the studio was just like do their songs and then throw in like crowd noises over top.
I didn't know that. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, they did that. And then they like also had like, I guess you could call it a skit, but they like, because one of their shows had to be stopped because of a bomb threat.
Oh, wow.
And so you can hear Peter in his very New York accent be like, guys, we're going to get out of here. There's a bomb threat. Something like that. So
that's great. I'll have to check that out.
About Typo Negative.
That's pretty good. I'm going to go look into that.
Yeah, well, I'm probably going to go listen to their discography right after this. But
and listen to Woods. Listen to Woods of Ypres.
Yes, Woods of Ypres.
Woods 5.
Woods 5.
Woods 5.
You know what?
Woods 5.
And I can't deny the amazing quality of metal that these guys give me. Yeah. And hopefully, because myself having a reading week next week, I'm going to hopefully have brews with the boys and get me into more black metal. Because I'll be honest, Conrad, I only know the stereotypical like legendary albums.
Hey,
so,
that's still fine.
All the Bathory.
Hey,
all the Dark Throne.
it's just it's a starting point.
It is, right? Yeah.
That's all it takes. All it takes is
Yeah.
just that first stepping stone.
But I will and now of course probably we're nerding out about metal here, but I can't help but mention Stormkeep. Holy shit.
Oh yeah, that album was great.
Oh my god. Yeah, I saw the artwork because I think I follow black metal. It's like a black metal album channel, but I'm definitely going to check out the atmospheric side because I do love Agalok, which hopefully I'll be reviewing on here. Have to bring
That's a good
you guys
choice.
back for that.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, Mantle. I can't stop. I can't stop listening to that.
I'm an Ashes Against the Grain guy.
Ashes Against Grain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pale folklore.
Well, folklore.
Yeah, it's all good.
I saw
it's
the
all
nightfall.
It's all
It's
I
all
saw
good.
the nightfall. It called to me like a river of
It
shadows,
like
sang to me like the cry of 1,000 ravens that took to the sky. Yeah.
Yes. That good, guys. Well, we're gonna close out here with, of course, "Love You to Death" by Typo Negative. But before that, where can our listeners find you guys?
We're on Spotify. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, we're on Spotify. Sorry,
No worries.
It's the lag. It's the.
we're idiots.
the audio.
It's okay.
No. It's also, hey, it's one of my first times trying to polish these skills up. So if I sound like a blubbering idiot, I have two
Like
patient
we're
guys.
on the Instagrams, we're on the Facebooks, we're on the Spotifys, we're on the YouTubes.
Is it at Nepenthe
you-
Doom?
Yeah,
I will include it in the
Nepenthe
show.
Doom. Yeah. Nepenthe.doom. at bandcamp.ca or something like that.
Here,
is
I
like
got
the
it right
Bandcamp
here.
link, and
It's
then,
Bandcamp is just Nepenthe Doom,
Okay.
and then Instagram's Nepenthe.doom, and then Facebook is again Nepenthe.doom. Except no one uses Facebook, but
I mean,
yeah,
hey,
pretty much.
why not?
Yeah.
why not? If
do
you're
you
on
guys-
Facebook, give us
why
a
not?
like.
Hey,
There you go.
Check out these lads.
MySpace, Nepenthe Doom.
No,
We
we
don't
don't.
have
I don't think
MySpace.
we have
No,
a
we
MySpace
don't.
account.
Not a
I'm just kidding.
MySpace. I mean, what's left really?
I think there's still something left.
Elegies of Lost and Doom vinyl or cassettes. Have you thought about
We've been
that?
thinking.
I think you'll get cassettes before vinyl.
We were
Yeah,
thinking of
that's
CDs.
That's all I'll say. Yeah.
Actually, let's quickly talk about that. Do you guys have? I mean, I know that of course the pandemic being what it is and being a much dumb bastard has affected shows. But do you guys have any projects in the works, or is it kind of in the writing process as of right now?
I think it's more in the refining process at this point, where we're. I think next week we're going to start up, actually starting to rehearse the album again, and then from that point it's just refining songs until we deem ready to record them. But it's things are moving again, so that's the important part. It's
Definitely.
that COVID's definitely like we've gone for ages, and then everything's shut down, so we shut down for a little bit, and then we get back into the rhythm of it. We start making work progress. Then we're shut down again. And now we're at the point where it's like, okay, we've had a couple jams. We've gotten the sillies out of our system. We've gone done some good stuff. Let's start with the album. Let's get back to the album.
Yeah.
The sillies out of our system.
The sillies out of our system. What a
spoken like
line.
a true wizard.
Yeah, the sillies. Yeah, don't worry. We'll get the sillies out of our system.
I mean, maybe I'll have more to talk about next time I'm on, but Chris is I have a whole album that's fully recorded. I'm just waiting to put that out.
Stockpiling stuff.
But yeah, I don't even really
Yeah.
want to reveal anything about it. That's just a little thing to throw out there.
It's a mystery.
It's a little tease,
yeah.
little tidbit,
It's a little nugget. Little nugget for you.
Nugget, little
Chicken nugget, little bit of plum sauce with that chicken
just
nugget.
a little spicy little taste, just to leave you wanting a bit more.
It's just a good old McDonald's chicken nugget. Yeah, nothing more than that.
Well, thank you so much, guys, for being on. I really appreciate
No problem.
Take the time to come on this
Cheers, buddy.
podcast, and I hope to be seeing you guys with a beer really
Oh
soon.
yeah, man. Anytime.
Cheers.
Please, yeah.
It's always good to
and
have
some
you.
magic. We gotta. I mean, hopefully, also fellow Magic fans makes them love. I love them even more.
Oh yes.
But and we'll include, of course, all of Nepenthe's wonderful info for you so you can help support their Bandcamp. I actually wanted to say, do you guys still have shirts?
We do.
Because your shirts are really sick.
That's the only physical thing that we sell at this point. We have
hell yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to be... I will definitely give you money for a shirt.
So
gotta
yeah, cheers, man.
Yeah, of course. All right, well, happy late Valentine's
Merry belated Valentine's
Merry
Day.
belated love, and we're gonna finish this off with "Love You to Death."
Happy Van Halen's Day. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye. I love the Antichrist. I love the Antichrist. I love the Antichrist.
In her place, 100 candles burning. A salty sweat drips from her breast. Her hips move, and I can feel what they're saying, swaying. They say the beast inside of me is gonna get ya. enough? Am I good enough?